Why does it feel like you're running, but never arriving? Every morning, millions of us wake up to the same loop. Alarm clock, commute, work, exhaustion, repeat. We call it life. We call it freedom. But if this is freedom, why does it feel like suffocation? There's a prison with no bars, no guards, no locked doors, and yet no one escapes it. It's the invisible system, the one that lets you choose your phone color, your streaming service, your coffee order, so you feel free, while silently deciding your worth, your labor, your time, and your dreams. Imagine a glass cage. You can see the outside. The sun shines. The sky is blue. Freedom looks close. You stretch your arms toward it, but your hands always hit the wall. You can't leave, but you don't scream, because the cage is clean, air-conditioned, and polite. It offers health insurance and Wi-Fi. This is the brilliance of the system. It doesn't need chains. It gives you choices that don't matter while stripping away the ones that do. They taught us to worship freedom. But what is freedom when your rent decides your future? When your body breaks down from stress but you can't afford to rest? You are free to work 60 hours a week to survive. Free to drown in student loans to chase a degree that leads to more debt. Free to buy products that distract you from your own unhappiness. This isn't freedom. It's obedience disguised as opportunity. We internalize this system. We tell ourselves, it's just how the world works. But ask yourself, who built this world and who benefits from it? Because someone profits from your exhaustion. Someone buys yachts from your anxiety. While you measure your life in paychecks, someone else measures it in dividends. And here's the trick. They don't need to convince you with force. They convince you with dreams. They sell you the idea that if you work hard enough, hustle long enough, stay positive enough, you'll rise. But what if the ladder you're climbing leads nowhere? What if the system isn't broken, but perfectly designed to keep you running in circles? In the cage, there are mirrors. They reflect your failures back at you. They whisper, "You're not trying hard enough. You're not smart enough. You're the problem." But the truth is, the problem was never you. You were born into a game you didn't create, with rules you never agreed to. And calling it freedom doesn't make it any less of a trap. So the question is, if this is the cage we don't see, what would it take to finally recognize the walls? They tell you your job gives you dignity, but what kind of dignity is built on exhaustion? You wake up before the sun. You drag your body into traffic, into meetings, into spaces where your value is measured in productivity, not presence. And every hour you give is an hour you'll never get back. They call it employment, but it feels more like ownership. The modern workplace is a softer prison. It doesn't beat you, it just drains you. It doesn't threaten you. It smiles while it takes from you. You are part of the team, but teams don't usually need to clock in and out just to afford groceries. Work is no longer about creating, building, or expressing purpose. It's about surviving. It's about chasing numbers to pay for needs that should never have had a price. You're told, be grateful you have a job. But what kind of freedom is gratitude for survival? You clock in, and something inside you clocks out. Not just your time, your spirit, your laughter, your calm. Over time, it begins to fade. Until even on your days off, you feel the weight of Monday. The dread doesn't leave. It just sleeps. This is the new form of alienation, where your life becomes a series of tasks, deadlines, and obligations, where you don't own your time, your energy, or even your thoughts, where success means being constantly available and perpetually empty. Marx once wrote, "The worker becomes all the poorer the more wealth he produces." And still, that's true. Because the wealth you create doesn't return to you, it moves upward. You build someone else's empire while barely affording rent. You answer emails while your back aches, your eyes burn, your mind frays. And what's your reward? A pizza party, a meaningless bonus, a title change with no raise. This isn't work. This is managed servitude. In the past, workers saw their chains. They could feel them, break them. Now, the chains are psychological. They're embedded in deadlines, KPIs, performance reviews. They keep you compliant by making you believe you're lucky to be here. And here's the cruelest part. They make you think it's your choice. But was it really your dream to spend 50 years in a cubicle? Was your childhood filled with fantasies of endless spreadsheets and unpaid overtime? Or were you sold a dream that was never yours? They convinced you that the only way to survive was to submit, and because everyone else submitted too, it started to feel normal. But normal doesn't mean natural, and widespread doesn't mean just. There's a reason you feel tired in a way sleep can't fix. It's not just burnout, it's spiritual disconnection, a life misaligned with purpose, a job that extracts more than it gives, a system that feeds on your time, your health, your hope, and calls it growth. So you keep working, you keep showing up, not because it makes sense, but because you were never shown another way. And that's the tragedy, because labor should not be slavery, effort should not mean erasure. But as long as we call it freedom, the chains remain invisible. They told you happiness could be bought, and you believed them, because everyone else did too. So you swipe, you click, you add to cart. You wait 2 days for the box to arrive. And for a brief moment it feels like winning. Like maybe this is what life is about. Small rewards, instant satisfaction, another delivery of meaning. But what you're really buying is the illusion of control. Because behind every product there's a deeper transaction. Your time, your energy, your dreams, sold off piece by piece to afford it. They don't just sell you things, they sell you who you should be. The sneakers aren't just shoes, they're status. The phone isn't just a tool, it's identity. The clothes aren't just fabric, they're value, and so you don't just consume, you become the consumption. This is the heart of commodity fetishism. When objects are no longer things we use, but things we believe in. When the value of a product eclipses the value of a life. When a brand means more than a neighbor. When owning becomes more important than being. And in this world, time becomes currency. You spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week working, not to live but to keep up, to maintain the image, to feed the algorithm, to avoid the shame of appearing less than others. You don't have time to rest. But you have time to scroll. You can't afford therapy. But you can afford a new gadget. You can't find meaning. But you can find discounts. It's a trade you were trained to make. They taught you to cope with emptiness by filling it, with boxes, with likes, with noise. And so the machine keeps turning. The more you work, the more you crave. The more you crave, the more you buy. The more you buy, the more you work. A perfect cycle of quiet desperation. Marx wrote, "In the circulation of commodities, the real content is obscured beneath the surface. You don't see the sweatshop behind the sneaker. You don't see the burned-out worker behind the warehouse. You don't see the tears behind the screen. Because capitalism has a trick. It turns suffering into silence and silence into style. You wear it, you post it, you hashtag it, you become it. And what's lost in all this is the question that never gets asked. What did I have to give up just to afford this? Because every purchase has a hidden cost. Not just dollars, but time. Not just time, but life. We don't own things anymore. Things own us. You dream of vacations, homes, stability. But what you're really dreaming of is escape. Escape from the very life you've been told to build. A life centered around spending your best years chasing fleeting highs. This is not freedom. This is dependency wrapped in packaging. So next time you reach for your wallet, ask yourself, am I buying joy? Or am I renting relief from a system that profits from my emptiness? Because the most dangerous part of this machine is that it doesn't need to imprison you. It only needs to convince you that you're already free. There's a smile on your face, but it's not yours. It was placed there by the script you were given, the uniform you wear, the corporate culture that demands it. A smile that doesn't come from joy, but from survival. Welcome to the smile economy, where emotional labor is mandatory and positivity is the price of belonging. In this system, your mood is a commodity. Your attitude is part of the brand. Your personality is part of the product. You're no longer just working, you're performing. You greet every customer with warmth, even when you're exhausted. You end every email with an exclamation mark, even when you're anxious. You bring good vibes to meetings, even when your spirit is breaking. This is not kindness. This is compliance. You are not encouraged to be human. You are trained to be agreeable. The smile economy thrives on your silence. It punishes doubt, skepticism, and emotional honesty. It teaches you that anything less than cheerfulness is unprofessional, ungrateful, unworthy. But what if the smile is a mask? What if it hides the slow erosion of yourself? In a world where corporations pretend to care, empathy becomes a marketing tool. Your pain is rebranded as resilience. Your burnout is reframed as drive. Your silence is labeled team spirit. And slowly, you stop asking questions. You stop resisting. You learn to smile through injustice. Marx once said, "Religion is the opium of the people." Today, that opium is positivity. Toxic optimism is the drug of the exploited. It keeps you hopeful in hopeless conditions. It tells you everything is fine when everything is falling apart. You're told to be grateful for your job, your paycheck, your place in the machine. But gratitude without justice is just submission in disguise. You're told to focus on the good, as if acknowledging suffering is a moral failure. But ignoring the pain doesn't heal it. It only normalizes it. They don't want you angry. They don't want you questioning. They want you smiling. Because a smiling worker doesn't organize. A smiling customer keeps spending. A smiling citizen stays quiet. And so, positivity becomes a form of control. Not through fear, but through comfort. Not through punishment, but through performance. You decorate your desk with slogans. You repost corporate memes. You wear the merch, attend the team building, fake the laugh. You become the brand. But inside, a quiet ache grows. It's the ache of unreleased truth, the ache of swallowed dignity, the ache of knowing that something is wrong but being too tired to say it. You begin to wonder, what would happen if I stopped smiling? If I told the truth? If I let the mask slip? Would they still call me a team player? Would they still say I fit the culture? Or would they replace me with someone cheaper, happier, easier? Because in the smile economy, your worth is measured not just by what you do, but by how convincingly you pretend you love it. And yet, there is power in discomfort. There is strength in honesty. There is rebellion in a frown. Because a forced smile keeps the system running. But a real conversation, that might be the beginning of its end. You think you're scrolling freely, but every swipe is a chain. Every like is a signal. Every click is a confession. You don't live in a free world. You live in a filtered one, curated by code, governed by algorithms, optimized not for your growth, but for your compliance. Welcome to the new servitude, the invisible domination, the digital leash. You wake up and check your phone. It tells you what to wear, what to fear, who to envy. You don't question it because it feels normal, familiar, convenient. But what you don't see is the cost. Your attention is not yours. It's harvested. Your preferences are not private. They're profiled. Your identity is not solid. It's sliced into data points sold to the highest bidder. In the old world, the chains were physical. Today, they're psychological. You're no longer just a worker. You're a product. Your behavior is monetized. Your emotions are tracked. Your inner life is under surveillance. The algorithm doesn't just know what you want. It decides what you want. It shapes your feed, your beliefs, your sense of reality. It isolates you from complexity, locks you into echo chambers, and rewards your outrage with dopamine. Not because it hates you, but because your anger is profitable. And so you scroll, for hours, for days, for years, while the world around you burns, and you feel busy, engaged, informed. But deep down, you're numb. Because this isn't connection, it's captivity. Karl Marx once wrote, "The ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of its ruling class." Today, those ideas are embedded in code, not declared through speeches, but delivered through screens. Your news is curated, your entertainment is strategic. Your distractions are designed, not for liberation, but for obedience. You're told what to care about, what to ignore, what to desire, what to fear. And the worst part? You believe it's your own voice. You repost, you comment, you argue, you fight, not realizing that every act of engagement feeds the same machine. Even your rebellion becomes a product. You are not the user. You are the used. You think your choices are free, but how many of them were made by you? And how many were made for you by systems that know your insecurities better than you do? Your insecurities are assets now. Your self-doubt is a business model. Your confusion is a gold mine. They don't need to oppress you if they can distract you. They don't need to silence you if they can drown you in noise. So ask yourself, when was the last time you had a thought that didn't come from a feed? When was the last time you weren't watching, but seeing? There is no revolution in a comment section. There is no freedom in an algorithm. There is only the slow erosion of self, disguised as endless choice. And the only way out is to remember who you were before the system told you who to be. They told you the game was fair, that if you worked hard enough, studied long enough, sacrificed deeply enough, you'd rise. But what if the ladder you're climbing was always leaning against the wrong wall? This is the myth of meritocracy, the story we're all forced to believe, even as it quietly breaks us. You were taught that success is earned, that the poor simply didn't try hard enough, that every billionaire is just a brilliant mind who deserved more. But look around. Is that really what you see? Do the janitors working double shifts deserve poverty? Do the single mothers juggling 3 jobs lack discipline? Do the unemployed lack intelligence? Or just connections? What you weren't told is that the starting line isn't the same for everyone. Some are born on third base and think they hit a triple. Others are born into debt, disease, and despair and are told to run faster. This isn't a race. It's a rigged casino, and the house always wins. You were given the illusion of choice, the language of opportunity. But behind the scenes, doors close quietly. Networks matter more than knowledge. Wealth breeds wealth, and poverty multiplies in silence. Meritocracy teaches us to blame the victim, to see poverty as a personal failure instead of a systemic outcome, to see wealth as virtue instead of inheritance. Karl Marx once said, "The ideas of the ruling class are in every epoch the ruling ideas." And in our epoch, meritocracy is the most powerful idea of all. Because it hides inequality behind a narrative of fairness. It makes the exploited feel ashamed, not angry. It makes the privileged feel righteous, not lucky. And most of all, it keeps us divided. You see the one who got promoted and feel envy. You see the one who fell behind and feel superiority. And all the while, the system keeps turning. Quietly, efficiently. Meritocracy is not just a lie, it's a weapon. It's how they convince you that your suffering is your fault, that you didn't try hard enough, that you should hustle more, that sleep is laziness, that burnout is noble. But what if the system isn't measuring your merit, only your obedience? You're rewarded for compliance, not creativity. Promoted for silence, not truth. Validated for playing along, not for questioning the rules. And when you finally burn out, they say, "You just weren't strong enough." But no one ever asks, why should strength be required to survive? The truth is, meritocracy was never designed to lift everyone up. It was designed to justify why so many stay down. It tells the child born in poverty, you have the same chance, while offering none of the same tools. It tells the immigrant worker, you just need to work harder, while rigging every institution against them. It tells you, you can be anything, while quietly ensuring you remain what they need you to be. And the cruelest part? It makes you believe that your failure is proof you didn't deserve more. So ask yourself, if merit decides everything, why do the same families stay rich? Why do the same neighborhoods stay poor? Why are the best ideas ignored and the worst rewarded? Maybe it's not you. Maybe the myth was always meant to keep you chasing, while never arriving. Imagine a factory. Not one of steel and smoke, but one made of office cubicles, gig apps, classrooms, and hospitals. A factory that doesn't produce goods, but people. A factory powered not by machines, but by broken dreams. Welcome to the modern workplace. Welcome to the factory of broken souls. Here your potential is extracted. Your passion is processed. Your youth is refined into output, reports, deliverables. What begins as ambition ends as exhaustion. And all the while, the system profits. This isn't dramatic. It's routine. It starts with a dream. You wanted to build, to teach, to care, to create. But dreams don't pay rent. And so, you pivot. You trade purpose for security, creativity for conformity. And slowly, you become what the system needs, not who you are. And the machine keeps running. Your uniqueness, filed under company culture. Your voice, measured in engagement metrics. Your needs, not aligned with this quarter's goals. Karl Marx warned, "The worker becomes an appendage of the machine." But now, the machine isn't just mechanical, it's mental. It doesn't only need your hands, it needs your emotions, your identity, your compliance. And what does it give you in return? A paycheck that barely stretches, a title that means nothing outside your email signature, and a chronic sense that you are wasting your life, but can't afford to stop. This is more than exploitation. It's emotional extraction. It's the quiet violence of turning humanity into productivity. Every burnout is a spark of rebellion, quickly extinguished. Every resignation is a whisper of truth, quickly silenced. Because if too many of us admit we're unhappy, if too many of us stop pretending to care, the whole factory might collapse. So they keep us tired, distracted, competing. They sell us self-help books instead of time, meditation apps instead of unions, pizza parties instead of justice. And when we break, they call it personal failure. You should have managed your stress better. Maybe you're just not cut out for this field. Try thinking more positively. But how do you think positively in a system that thrives on your exhaustion? This factory doesn't just break your body, it fragments your soul. It turns your fire into fatigue, your talent into targets, your heart into hollow compliance. And you keep going. Because stopping means falling behind. Because everyone else is breaking too, and calling it success. But deep down, you feel it. This isn't how it's supposed to be. You weren't born to be a line item on someone's spreadsheet. You weren't born to live for weekends and recoveries. You weren't born to break so others can rise. So the question is not, how do I succeed in this system? The question is, why does this system require so many of us to fail? Because if the cost of success is your soul, then maybe it's not you who needs fixing. Maybe it's the factory. There's a weight you carry. It doesn't always have a name. It's not just sadness, not just stress. It's something deeper, a quiet disconnection, a sense that no matter what you do, you're not really living. And they'll tell you it's depression. They'll call it anxiety. They'll tell you to take a walk, breathe deeply, practice gratitude. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the ache you feel is not a malfunction, but a message? This is not just mental illness. This is alienation. Karl Marx described alienation as the separation between the worker and the product of their labor. But it's more than economic. It's existential. It's the distance between your life and yourself. You are disconnected from what you do, from who you are, from each other, from meaning. You sit at a desk and wonder, what is this for? You finish a project and feel nothing. You earn the promotion and still wake up empty, because your work is not your own. Your time is rented, your purpose outsourced, your humanity monetized. They told you to be productive, but they never told you why. And so you fill your calendar, you answer every message, you meet every deadline, but still it doesn't feel real. Because you were made for creation, not repetition, for connection, not competition, for depth, not distraction. And yet, here we are, alone in open-plan offices, together in silence, busy but deeply lost. You open your phone for comfort and find comparison. You scroll for meaning and find marketing. You speak but feel unheard. And when you finally break, when you cry in your car, cancel plans, feel like a ghost in your own life, what does the system say? Have you tried yoga? Maybe you need to be more grateful. Happiness is a choice. But this pain isn't a personal failure. It's the logical outcome of an inhuman system. You were not designed for this. You were not born to chase KPIs. You were not meant to live for weekends. You were meant to create something with meaning, to love deeply, to rest, to belong. Alienation is not depression. It is the soul's resistance to a world that sees you as a tool. It is your body rejecting a life without connection. It is your spirit refusing to become a commodity. It is your humanity refusing to be silenced. And that resistance, it's not weakness, it's truth. You are not broken, you are awakening. So the question is not, what's wrong with me? But rather, what kind of world requires me to feel this way just to survive? Because maybe you're not sick, maybe the system is. And healing won't come from adapting better to alienation. It will come from remembering who you are beneath it. We keep saying it like a prayer. The system is broken, as if this is a glitch, as if somewhere, someone lost control, as if the suffering is accidental. But what if this isn't a malfunction? What if this is exactly how it was designed to work? Think about it. Who profits when you're exhausted? Who gains when you doubt yourself? Who thrives while you barely survive? This system doesn't need to be broken. It needs to be believed. It needs you to think your struggle is a personal flaw, that your burnout is a badge of honor, that your poverty is a lack of effort. Because if you believe that, you'll never look up. You'll never question the rules. You'll never realize the game is rigged. Karl Marx didn't call it a broken system. He called it what it is, a system of exploitation. Every hour you work, you produce more than you are paid. That more becomes someone else's profit. You're told to be proud of your hustle, while someone else buys silence with your suffering. This isn't chaos, it's control. Wages are kept low on purpose. Healthcare is privatized on purpose. Education is a debt trap on purpose. Housing is unaffordable on purpose. These aren't random crises. They're features. Because desperation keeps people compliant. Fear keeps people obedient. Hope, just enough to keep you going, is the bait. And when you start to question it, they tell you, that's just how the world works. It's complicated. Don't be so negative. But behind those platitudes is power. Power that knows if too many people wake up, everything falls apart. You are not meant to rest. You are not meant to feel secure. You are not meant to have time to think. You are meant to move, produce, consume, repeat. And when your body fails, replaceable. When your mind breaks, invisible. When your spirit resists, dangerous. The system doesn't care about your soul. It cares about your output. It doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you can do. But here's the truth. You were never the problem. Your pain is not a bug. Your resistance is not irrational. Your exhaustion is not weakness. They are evidence. Evidence that this system was never meant to serve you. So stop asking how to fix it. Start asking why it was built this way in the first place. Because the first step to liberation is refusing to apologize for your suffering. Not all wounds are personal. Some are historical. Some are structural. Some are inherited through systems designed to keep you small. And once you see that, once you stop blaming yourself for the storm you were born into, something inside you changes. You stop adapting. You start questioning. You stop surviving. You start awakening. And no system, no matter how powerful, can survive a people who see it clearly. They called it freedom. The freedom to choose a job or starve. The freedom to rent your time or fall behind. The freedom to compete with everyone around you for scraps. But freedom without dignity is not freedom. Freedom without rest is not freedom. Freedom without power is just another word for control. And control, disguised as liberty, is the cruelest kind. From the day you were born, you were fed stories. That hard work pays off, that the market is fair, that you are free because you can choose between brands, between careers, between distractions. But the one choice they never gave you was the choice not to play the game. You were told, this is just life, but life shouldn't feel like suffocation. It shouldn't feel like chasing breath, chasing time, chasing worth. What if you never gave true consent? What if you were never truly free? Karl Marx once said, "The production of too many useful things results in too many useless people." But you are not useless. You are not broken. You are not the failure. You are simply trying to survive a system designed for your exploitation. And freedom, real freedom, doesn't begin with elections or laws or slogans. It begins in the mind. It begins the moment you stop believing that this is all you deserve. It begins when you realize you are not lazy, you are depleted. You are not unmotivated. You are alienated. You are not crazy, you are conscious. Conscious of a system that values profit over people, appearance over truth, control over community. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You stop blaming yourself. You stop competing with your neighbor. You stop trying to win a race that was never meant to be fair. You start asking, who benefits from my silence? You start wondering, what would it look like to live outside this system? You start dreaming, not of riches but of rest, of purpose, of connection. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. This is about reclaiming your humanity, reclaiming your time, reclaiming your right to exist without earning it. Freedom starts not when you are allowed to speak, but when you finally know what you need to say. It's not found in the ballot box. It's found in the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. More time, more truth, more life. So the question now is not, are you free? The question is, what will you do now that you know you never were? What if your exhaustion is not a flaw, but a signal? What if your discontent is not failure, but awakening? And what if the system that promised you freedom was never built to deliver it? We were taught to blame ourselves, to compete instead of connect, to consume instead of feel. But maybe, just maybe, you've started to see the cracks. Maybe you've begun to ask the questions they told you not to. Like, why do I feel empty when I'm doing everything right? Why does success feel like a cage, not a reward? Why does freedom look more like exhaustion than liberation? If you've ever felt like something is deeply wrong with the world, it's because something is, and you're not alone. You are part of a quiet revolution. A growing number of souls who are beginning to wake up, not with rage, but with clarity. Not with slogans, but with truth. Freedom doesn't begin when the system changes. It begins when you do, when you start seeing through the lies, when you stop apologizing for your pain, when you begin to reclaim what was taken from you, your time, your voice, your worth. This video is not the end, it's the beginning. If it spoke to you, if something deep inside you stirred, stay with us. Comment your thoughts. Tell us your story, join the conversation, and above all, don't forget, your awakening is not weakness, it's your first act of resistance. Watch the next video, keep thinking, keep questioning, keep rising, because the system thrives on silence, and the most dangerous thing you can do is speak.